Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer covering the absolutely thrilling and honestly pretty historic 2026 Dutch Grand Prix sprint weekend at Zandvoort. I'm so pumped to walk you through this one because this weekend literally had it all. We're talking shocking last-minute driver changes, extreme track characteristics, and some truly brilliant strategic gambles. Okay, let's just dive right in.
We are getting straight into a high-energy digest of all the action from the steep banks of this legendary circuit. I mean, look at this incredible shot of the cars launching off the line. There is just a palpable tension in the air at Zandvoort, and it's not just because it's the first race back from the summer break. Remember, this marks the 5th of 6 sprint weekends this season, so that means there are maximum points on the table in a very short, very high-pressure window.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start off with the sprint qualifying results, look at the unique circuit characteristics, dive into a start-to-finish digest of the race developments, check out the final sprint results, and then wrap things up with the updated points rankings.
Starting with Section 1, Sprint Qualifying and the Surprise Return.
So, before a single wheel was even turned in anger, the paddock was already scrambling. The domino effect that led to this moment is just wild. Red Bull's Isaac Hajar suffered a wrist injury, putting him out of the seat. Liam Lawson gets the immediate call-up to step into the top team to replace him, right? Well, that suddenly leaves an empty seat at Racing Bulls alongside Arvid Lindblad. Enter Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda had lost his full-time seat at the end of last season and was in a reserve role. When the call actually came on Tuesday, the guy was literally on a beach in Greece enjoying his summer vacation. As Tsunoda himself put it, "Since the season started, I've been dying to be in the car." He had less than 2 days to prepare for his comeback in a totally new generation of F1 machinery. Talk about a wake-up call.
So, how did that actually shake out for the grid? In sprint qualifying, George Russell charged straight to pole position, edging out McLaren's Lando Norris by the thinnest of margins, with Charles Leclerc putting his Ferrari in third. But you've got to look down there at P12. A returning Yuki Tsunoda put in a seriously solid effort to qualify 12th. He admitted afterward that he felt like a rookie all over again in this new car, but pulling off P12 on such short notice, that is a massive statement, especially as Racing Bulls are desperately trying to protect their 5th place in the constructors' standings.
Moving on to Section 2, Circuit Characteristics and Zandvoort's final bow.
Since organizers confirmed they won't be seeking a contract extension, this track is officially making its final appearance on the calendar, and we really have to talk about its unique challenges. The defining features of this 4.259-kilometer track are Turn 3, known as Hugenholtz, and Turn 14, the Airy Leyendic corner. These corners feature a massive 18 to 19-degree banking. To put that into perspective, that is actually steeper than the banking at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
So what does that banking actually do to these incredibly complex cars? Well, these extreme angles force massive vertical and lateral loads onto the Pirelli tires at the exact same time. The cars are literally being squished down into the track surface while cornering at phenomenal speeds. Because of this, suspension setup and ride height management become an absolute nightmare for the engineering teams. If you run the car too low, you're going to bottom out on the banking. But if you run it too high, you lose all your aerodynamic downforce. It is a razor-thin margin for error.
All right, Section 3, Sprint Race Developments. Let's get into the action.
You've got 22 drivers facing a highly technical track in a 102-kilometer all-out dash. The action was intense from the literal second the lights went out. Let's break down this timeline. On lap 1, Russell perfectly converted his pole position and just led the pack away. But by lap 10, a huge plot twist hits the McLaren garage. Lando Norris starts suffering from sudden, severe rear tire degradation, leaving him super vulnerable. Fast forward to lap 18, and Charles Leclerc absolutely capitalizes on this, making a stunning, aggressive move to rip second place away from Norris. From there, George Russell beautifully controlled the pace at the front to take the checkered flag on lap 24.
Now, a major story of this race, and honestly the whole reason Leclerc was even in a position to make that lap 18 pass, was Ferrari's wild strategy gamble. Remember, in a sprint race, you don't have to pit, so most teams ran a standard, conservative strategy using harder compounds to just survive those brutal banked corners we were talking about earlier. But Ferrari, they went rogue and bolted on the aggressive soft tires for Charles Leclerc.
Leclerc totally knew the risk here, saying this strategy was going to be either very right or very wrong. Well, spoiler alert, the gamble paid off brilliantly. Afterward, Leclerc was heavily praising his team's homework. Ferrari understood exactly how to manage the thermal degradation of that soft rubber. That gave Leclerc the grip he desperately needed in the closing stages to snatch second place from Norris. Just an absolute masterclass in risk versus reward.
Meanwhile, a bit further down the pack, things were not going so great for the home hero Max Verstappen. He found himself utterly stuck in 6th place, trapped in a DRS train behind Oscar Piastri. A clearly frustrated Verstappen hopped on the radio to say, "You simply cannot overtake here." And this perfectly highlights the double-edged sword of Zandvoort. It is a spectacular roller coaster track to drive, but its narrow layout makes passing nearly impossible unless you have a massive tire advantage like Leclerc managed to pull off.
And just to add one final layer of tension to the whole ordeal, these ominous dark rain clouds started looming over the North Sea coast in the closing laps. The weather radar was lighting up, and teams were seriously bracing for chaos. But the precipitation arrived just a tiny bit too late. As some of the commentators joked, the rain caught the train late. If those clouds had opened up even just 3 laps earlier, we could have easily seen a completely flipped grid.
Moving on to Section 4, Sprint Race Final Results.
So, 24 intense laps down, the rain holds off. Let's look at the final classification. George Russell takes maximum points with a completely dominant victory, finishing over a second ahead of the car behind him. Charles Leclerc holds on to that brilliant second place thanks to Ferrari's gutsy soft tire gamble. Lando Norris barely, and I mean barely, survived immense pressure from the current championship leader Kimi Antonelli, holding on to third by just 0.3 of a second. Oscar Piastri rounds out the top 5, while Max Verstappen had to settle for 6th. And looking a bit further down, Yuki Tsunoda finished 13th. He had a brief bit of contact with his teammate Arvid Lindblad, but ultimately he gathered some incredibly valuable data in his first race back from vacation.
Finally, Section 5, the updated points rankings.
So what does all this sprint action mean for the broader 2026 World Championship battle as we head into the main event on Sunday? Well, in the driver standings, the rookie sensation Kimi Antonelli is still maintaining a dominant lead with 224 points. But you really have to look at this battle for second. Lewis Hamilton sits on 171 points, but our sprint winner, George Russell, has closed that gap significantly. He's now right on his teammates' heels with 168 points. Leclerc's brilliant gamble keeps him totally in the hunt at 145, pulling slightly away from Lando Norris, who sits at 134.
Over on the constructor's side, Mercedes holds a commanding lead with 392 points. Ferrari is sitting pretty comfortably in second with 316, and McLaren is in third with 230. Red Bull is currently trailing in fourth with 180 points, which really contextualizes why they were in such a frantic rush to get Liam Lawson into that seat to score points after Hodger's injury. And in fifth, Racing Bulls are sitting at 66 points. They are narrowly protecting their best-of-the-rest status from Alpine, who are just 4 points behind them. Honestly, every single point Yuki Tsunoda can muster this weekend is going to be vital for them.
And that brings us to the ultimate question for the rest of the weekend. As this historic, punishing, and utterly unique circuit bids farewell to Formula One, can anyone actually stop the Mercedes juggernaut on Sunday? Or will Ferrari's strategic brilliance and killer tire management steal the ultimate prize right in front of the Dutch fans? Let us know what you think is going to happen. Thank you so much for joining me for today's explainer, and enjoy the race.